Hi there, I am going to show you just how to get started quickly with Apple Classroom, which is a great free tool for managing iPads in your classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on Reflector and project my iPad up there. It's an app that you'll need on just your teacher iPad, and I will note that this only works with iPads that are running iOS 10 or higher. So if you have some of those really old iPads, those 935 iPads, it's not going to work with those. So the first time you open the Apple Classroom app, it will ask you to put in your name like I did here. And then you're just going to create your class. So I'm going to go ahead and start a class. And, this could just be kindergarten, it could be 1920, whatever you want to call it. If you have more than one class, you can set them different colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and say done. Oh, there it is. Okay, I need you to be patient. I'm going to go ahead and tap open this new class. Now, in order to invite students to this class, they'll actually sign up through settings on their iPad, but they won't see the option to join the class until you actually click on this invite students button, and that kind of activates it. So I'm going to go ahead and say invite students, and this shows me this code right here. That's the code students will need to join the class. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how a student connects. So I'm going to go ahead and project a student iPad this time. So again, I just open up settings on this iPad. I don't need the app, and you'll see that right under Bluetooth, this little classroom icon comes up. So when I tap on that, you can see a couple of things. Right here, it's saying some permissions. I usually go in and set these to always right away. So what this means is if it says ask, if you're trying to manage a student iPad, it will actually ask them first, Mrs. Pills wants to lock your iPad, and they'll have to say, okay. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to have that control. I don't want it to ask them. So I set this by default to be always. I actually think that's a setting that your tech could actually push out to all of your iPads as well. So if you don't want to mess with that and you're using Apple Classroom, you could ask your tech about that. Now here is that class that I started. So I'm going to tap on add kindergarten. This part on your student iPad will be empty, and your student can add their name in there. So if you tap here, you can see how I could edit that name. And then here's the code. So that's that join code that we'd seen last time. So I'm going to go ahead and type that code in and say add. And I can go through and do that on all of my students' iPads now. Second grade or older, I usually do this in a group and they can figure it out. Kindergarten and first grade, it might be easier on your prep or after school to just go to each device and get this set up. So once I have all of my students, I've gone through that process on all of them. From my teacher iPad, I'm just going to click add. And now you'll see that waiting for teacher went away, and this iPad is now actually being sort of managed by the Teacher Apple Classroom app. So I can continue to use it as I normally would as a student. And I'll flip back over here in just a second and show you what I see from the teacher view. Okay, so I have my teacher iPad back up here. I'm going to show you my screen. So here is my Apple Classroom app. Across the top, it kind of gives me the tools or the things that I'm able to do. I only have the one student connected, but if I were in my classroom, this would be full of all of my students. So right now, I can see that Tracy is just on the home screen. So it's just showing me where all my students are. If they were on different apps, they would kind of be listed here. If I tap on that student, I could say I want to view that screen. And here I can actually see what the student is looking at in real time. So I'm moving around on this student iPad over here. If I decide I wanted to start playing this Princess app right here. I picked a nice loud one. Again, from my teacher iPad, I can see exactly what the student is doing on that app. I'm going to click done to get out of there. And I'm going to go ahead and close that down. You can see that I could open a certain app on the iPad. I could navigate the student to a website. I could lock the iPad so that the student couldn't leave the app that I put them in. I could mute that iPad, or I could AirPlay. So if I wanted to display, I could use AirPlay to display. And again, that's by individual student. When I have a whole class here, these are sort of the tools where I could do those same kinds of things for the whole class. I think if all you used this for is to have this open while you're working in groups and tap on this button where you see all of your student screens, so you could actually take a quick glance and see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, that in itself would be incredibly helpful. This grouping tool right here, I could make groups, and I could see this being useful if you have differentiated groups and you are asking them to do different things, so that you could maybe quickly look and see if they're where they're supposed to be. As a management tool, I could see putting kind of those difficult students that you're constantly having to remind to stay on task. Maybe they go into a group, and then that's the group that you're kind of really heavily monitoring and maybe locking when you need to. When I say open an app, so I'm going to tap right here. I have to have the app on my teacher iPad and on the student iPads that I'm trying to send it to. If I do want to lock them in, I have to toggle this on before tapping on the app. So if I want them to be locked in, I toggle that on, and then I could go ahead and open. So let's say Book Creator, and I'll go ahead and click open. And provided that all of my students have Book Creator on their iPads, it will open that. I also have the option of, if I'm teaching a lesson, I could open Book Creator on my iPad right from here as well. I'm going to go ahead and say done, so you can just kind of see, again, when I tap on that student, I see that it opens. View her screen. You can see that it opened this Book Creator app open, and as she begins working, I'd be able to watch her work. So pretty stinking cool. When I'm finished, I don't want to manage anymore today. I'm going to go ahead and end class. Oh, before I hit that, I'll also say, if you get more students and need to invite them, it's this button right here, so you could add more students to that. I'm going to go ahead and end class, so you can see I get this little app usage and student summary, which is pretty awesome. So it's going to show me what apps my students had open. If I tap on a specific student, it would show me which apps that student had used, and it would show me the amount of time. This doesn't save anywhere, so if this is something you need for specific data, I would take a quick screenshot of that, just so you have that saved on your iPad, and then once you click done, that goes away. This ended the session. I'm no longer managing these student iPads. When I decide I want to do that again, I don't have to, the student's now connected, I don't have to do that code or anything again. They'll stay connected. As soon as I tap on this button, it will just launch another session, and I'll be good to go again.